Hello and welcome to this special episode of Sit Down with the Supt. I'm Craig Birnbach. I work in the communications department here at EPS, and I'll be guiding today's conversation, which is concentrating on the budget process, and more specifically, it's to share information about the initial budget recommendations that Superintendent John Boyd shared with the board earlier this week. Superintendent Boyd, along with Deputy Superintendent Dr. Kimberlee Armstrong and Board President Rob Perkins, will give insight on the recommendations, how community input was incorporated into the decision-making process, and to review why EPS is again having to face these budget challenges. And with that, I want to welcome in Superintendent Boyd, Board President Rob Perkins, and Deputy Superintendent Dr. Kimberlee Armstrong. And John, I'm going to start right with you. And could you kind of review what happened earlier this week at Tuesday's board meeting, specifically the board workshop?
Sure. Yes, at Tuesday night's workshop, I shared with the board and about 150 of our community members the initial list of our draft reductions. So this is a draft list that we've intentionally put into the community a month before we have to make the final decisions about it, to be able to solicit feedback and listen to potentially make some adjustments to it. So we shared reductions at the district office. We shared our reduction ideas for elementary, middle, high school, and our specialty schools, which are our a suite of alternative schools. So we shared that with them, provided an opportunity for the board to have a dialogue and press me and our staff about the decision making around that, so that the board can get a good idea of in the public forum, how decisions are made, and share any concerns or thoughts or ideas with us as we move forward toward that final recommendation in March 26th.
Okay, and of course, this is $20 million, and I do want to clarify, people's whose roles and positions were on the recommendations were spoken to earlier in the week, so nobody who was whose position was on this list was surprised by Tuesday night.
Yes, we've signaled to the community that we were going to put a list out in February 28th board meeting, and we did that. And of course, we're going to talk to the people on the initial list before the list goes public, just as a courtesy, and so they're not surprised in seeing their name on a list for the first time.
And of course, it's positions, not specific names. And you mentioned this is the third year of reductions, and I know it gets more difficult second and third year. People, I know, are curious to try to understand why this is happening for the third year in a row here at EPS.
Yeah, it's happening in the third year in a row because we've lost 4,000 students over the last 5 to 6 years. Many of the urban centers across the nation and in our state are losing enrollment for a variety of factors, and so that's the number one reason that we are having to reduce the budget. We also had federal monies for COVID that were called ESSER funds, and those are going away. We used approximately $64 million through the period of COVID, and those are expiring. In addition to that, we've had inflation, we've had salary pressures with the contracts we've negotiated all up and down our system, and the state legislature hasn't really given us the money for the inflation that we've been experiencing too. So all of those factors lead up to $20 million this year, and that's why we're making these reductions.
You talk about the enrollment decline, about 4,000 since 2017. Can you equate that to an actual number?
Yeah, we get approximately $10,000 of basic ed funding for each individual student that is in our system. So you can do the math, and that's $40 million right there. And you put some of the other things that I mentioned before on top of that, and that gives you a sense of the enormity of the need to reduce.
Thank you. And Rob, I'm going to go to you as the board president. This year, these recommendations, our initial recommendations, were shared with the board earlier than in years past. Can you tell people why the board requested that?
We called for the process to be as public as possible, and really wanted citizen input to begin and other stakeholder input to begin right in November, when it became clear that it was about 4 to 5% of the budget there.
Right, and of course, that gives you time to make some changes, but I know with $20 million, that's not, for the board, though, it doesn't give you a ton of leeway, correct?
If we look at just putting things back. We still have to find another place in the system to reach that $20 million mark because the money just isn't there.
And Dr. Armstrong, I'm going to bring you in now. Rob talked a lot about community feedback, community engagement, and the board speaking to John and other leaders in the district saying they wanted more of that. And this year, I know Rob mentioned that we started a budget webpage in November. There was a presentation in November, and there was a lot of community involvement. Can you let people know what's happened so far?
From November up until the Tuesday night board meeting, we were in conversations with a variety of stakeholders from the inside of the organization to the outside. And when I say inside, we had forums where we invited our staff. We had opportunities to sit and engage with the different leaders across the system. We gave information for those leaders to also then go and take information back to their teachers. We did an online forum where we invited not only staff in the system, but families and community partners and anyone that's interested in our budget. And our thought was that the more information that we put out about our reality, about where we're at as a district with our budget, then the more feedback we will receive. And so we were able to collect feedback also through a survey. We partnered also with our students. They were able to make a video to also prep for a survey where we were able to increase, I think, like 20% of students responded to this budget survey.
Our student board reps did a video inviting our students to take that community survey, and 21% of the respondents were students, which was a great increase from the year before when it was about 5% of the overall. So our students certainly engaged.
Yeah, so we're really proud about the way in which we center the voice of all of our Evergreen partners.
John, I wanted to ask you now and talk directly about the recommendations that you presented on Tuesday. Can you speak specifically to the reductions here at the district office?
Yeah, we initially set out to make reductions 7 to 8% in the district office, 4 to 5% in each of our buildings, 2 to 3% in our specialty schools. And when we sat down with our building leaders and especially at elementary, we found it really difficult to make the types of reductions that would get us to 5%, 4 to 5%. So we then went back and took another look at district office, and instead of 7 to 8%, we're reducing our district office by 15%. It's 30 positions, taking us from 199 people to 151 people supporting over the last 3 years of reduction. So it's a 15% reduction this year, 24% over 3 years. And so it's going to be a challenge. I will not, I'm going to be honest about that. It's going to be a challenge to provide all the services and functions that we have in the past, but we'll continue to support in the way that we can. We're going to have to reorganize and probably restructure our organization to match that loss of individuals, and so it's going to be tough, but I think our folks here will rise to the challenge.
And finding other creative ways at the district level and administrator level to do other cost-saving measures. Yeah. I know there's, you mentioned on Tuesday night's workshop, furloughs, and can you explain how much that will equate to in savings?
Sure. We have been working with our school leaders, our associates and principals on a proposal to take some furlough days and other salary adjustments. And we're also going to employ furlough days here at the district office for a total savings of $624,000, I believe. So that'll help provide a little bit of the reduction measure.
All right, Rob, I want to go back to you because, of course, the questions are, we touched on it a little bit, but as far as a board, what's next? What are the next steps in this process for you as a board member?
Well, from Tuesday until the end of March, the second board meeting in March, the space is open for folks to come forward with their creativity and with the answers to that question. If not this, then what? And so I and the other board members and the board as a whole will be keeping an open mind and an open heart in order to find out if there's a way.
And March 26th is that second board meeting, and that's when the board would vote to adopt the recommendations. And while the board doesn't vote to on the actual budget until August, March 26th, that's when things need to be activated based on the system. Correct?
Yeah, based on the time limits in the state law and well, the deadlines in the state law and in the contracts that we have with most of our employees, we have to move forward with the technicalities involved. And so our district leaders over personnel, human resources will be looking at that and identifying who they need to notify. And following that would come opportunities. They'll work very hard, as John said, to find positions to make those people whole again.
And now, Dr. Armstrong, we do know that there will be, with a role reduction, that means there's going to be work that was done by certain positions that'll have to be done by others, and that's mitigation. And I know we can't make all the decisions on how the workflow will change until the decisions are permanent, but you are part of that process, and I know that work has already started, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate Board President Perkins' comment about the classroom environment. What's really important in this work is that we don't lose step with making academic progress and creating the conditions for our students to achieve and achieve at high levels. And so all of the work that we're doing to reorganize as a department and think of the ways in which we can support schools and students and the work that's needed to continue to lift learning all across Evergreen. So I'm really excited that we have the strategic plan, and the strategic plan will be that guiding document to make sure that we're able to accomplish the goals that we have set, not just the goals that we have as a system, but the goals that our families have for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. And John, we are not the only district that is going through this budget challenges. I know that it's continued for a few years, and I know you're in touch with other superintendents across the state that are dealing with this as well.
Yeah, this is something that's happening across across all schools in Washington and across the nation, particularly in urban centers. So, lower birth rates, housing difficulties are moving families out. And so we're having some challenges in that way.
President Perkins and Superintendent Boyd, and any closing remarks?
I hope that we in the board and the superintendent leadership team can build on a culture of hope and belonging, even in the face of these challenges. And I really want to invite everybody to come and participate and show us what the community's heart.
Thank you, Superintendent Boyd.
Yeah, I'll end by just saying, the reduction of a budget is not a fun thing for anybody. It's a tough thing for a community. It's hard for our students, our families, our teachers, all of our staff, our district staff. And so while this is really difficult, I'm going to echo what Dr. Armstrong said, is that we are still going to be committed to moving the work forward and supporting our students. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're protecting too, and that we have made conscious decisions to not cut, and that's our student programming. So we're not looking at middle school sports. We're going to continue to have our arts and athletics programs moving forward, and we're also protecting a lot of other functions in the district that will support our students. We had a career and technical education report at the board last last night. We have the largest career and technical education program in the state, not just by percentage, but bigger than Seattle, bigger than Tacoma, Spokane. We are working really hard and doing some phenomenal things around early learning to support our earliest learners. We're working hard to make sure that we are delivering powerful instruction to our students so that we can, as Dr. Armstrong said, progress and move them forward, progress them and move them forward. We have so many great things that are happening in this district, and we have to not lose sight of that. There's hope in the future, there's hope in what we're doing now, and I'm absolutely certain that we're going to continue to move forward in the best possible way for our students.
Thank you, Superintendent Boyd,
Yeah.
President Perkins, and Dr. Armstrong for your time. As we leave, I want to remind people that we have a lot of information about our budget process on the district website, which is at evergreenps.org. Just look for the budget link, and you can click over and find more information. For Evergreen Public Schools, I'm Craig Birnbach.